Hi everybody. So today we're going to start lesson 2, and the very first thing we're going to do is step 2.1. We're going to open our Access database. We're going to click on blank database one time. Then we are going to come over here to the name area, and we are going to browse to our H drives and select lesson 2 of your Access folder. Mine is someplace else, so I'm going to be looking in my folder, but yours will eventually look something like this, where you have Access lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So follow these directions pretty specifically. First thing we're going to do is double click on your Access lesson 2. However, we are not going to choose this database under company. It just simply needs to be unselected anywhere in this space. Then we're going to choose OK. Then over here in the file name, it has given us a generic database name. In my case, it's database 4. For you, it could be database 1. We are going to highlight that name, and we are going to call it interviews, followed by your initials. And then choose the Create button. Okay, next we're going to click Save in the top ribbon. And the table name right now is called Table 1. Let's call it Applicant. And click OK. Okay, we're going to start adding pieces of information to our database. The very first thing we want to do is click to add. And let's choose text for the very first field. And field number 1, let's go ahead and label it first name. And then let's click on the next one. Let's call it also text. Let's give it the title of last name. Tab, the third column, let's give it the text option, and it is going to be a phone number. However, we would not want to choose the number field, because when we put a dash in with for the phone number, it will recognize that as text and it will kick it out. So let's choose text, and let's call it phone number, or just phone. And tab, and on the next section we're going to call it date and time. That's the category, and then we're going to call it appointment date. And then hit tab. Our next category will be a number, and we're going to call it job number. Our next category will be text, and we're going to call it notes. Okay, now let's click your down arrow. Whoops, sorry, I actually added one next category, which I do not want. So I'm going to click outside of it, and I'm going to come to my first name cell to the far left hand side. And here I'm going to start entering in the data that I want to include. Ignore if you have record number 2 under, or ID number 2, or you may have nothing, just ignore it. That popped up on mine earlier when I redid something. So I may have to change it, but you may not have anything. So the first thing we're going to type in is Adam, and then let's type in Hoover, H-O-O-V-E-R, and then let's type in a phone number, 505-555-7844. Under appointment, let's put in the date of 9/22/2013. Under job number, let's type in 5492, and we'll hit tab. It'll take us to the notes field, and then while we have the notes field activated, if you remember, I believe we chose that to be text. We're going to change it from text to a memo style. So to change that data type, we're going to look up in the formatting section of our ribbon under data type. Right now it's set at text. Let's change it to memo. Okay, we're not going to type anything in that notes field right now, so let's hit tab, and you'll notice that you're going to the next line. New might be in there for your ID number, but you should have had an ID number assigned to the very first record. starting with the number 2. So let's hit Tab, and if you have your book open, we're going to be looking at figure 2.7 under step-by-step 2.5, and we're going to fill in some data based on that. The first name we're going to add is Julie. Of course, you can just follow along with me if you want, but if you want to look at your book, you can do that as well. 505-555-9012, appointment date 9/22/2013. Job number is 5492. I'm going to click down to the next line and type in Claire Jeffries, phone number 303-555-4122, appointment date 9/23/2013, job number 5411. No notes. You can hit enter and it'll take you one record right after another. Ruby Sherman, 505-555-0321, appointment date 9/24/2013, and the record number is 5486. Okay, next what we want to do is we want to move our last name column in between the ID and the first name. And you would think that you'd be able to just grab it and drag it, but we're not able to do that here. So we want to see a different view of this database. So let's click on the word view in our table tools fields bar. Click on view, and now what we see is the field names and the data type. This is where we're going to select the last name row by clicking in the row selector area on the left, making sure that we only have one row selected. We click on it, we hold it, we see a dark black line above the category last name. We are going to drag that black line up above the first name row and drop it. So now we've rearranged our categories so we have last name first and then first name. Okay, next we want to change appointment date to be shortened. We want to just say APPT for appointment, and then let's press the down arrow key, and we've now changed that category name to APPT. It might just take up too much space in the row headers when we print our database out later. Okay, now with jobs numbers highlighted, we want to add another row, and we want to call it confirmed. So we need a whole new category together. So let's insert a row by clicking the insert rows in the tools section. And here let's call this confirmed. When we hit tab, it inserts text for us because that's the first option in our drop down menu. But we don't want text. We actually want to type in only two options in this category for data type, either yes or no, because we're answering the question, has the appointment been confirmed? Yes or no. So we'll choose yes or no. Okay, and let's click down here in numbers so we can see that the yes and no applied, and let's save our database. Click your save button. Okay, next we're going to create a description for our confirmed field. Let's make sure that our cursor is in the yes and no category, data type, and hit tab. Now we have a description option available for us. Let's type in the words, has the interview been confirmed? Question mark. Press enter. Okay, so next what we want to do is we want to put some limits on the number of characters that we can type into each field. As we are adding to our database, a new applicant might come in, might have a phone number, and let's say we type in 15 digits instead of 10 digits, I think is what normal phone number is. We want to put limits on the number of characters that we can put in each field so that we can limit the number of errors that are made as the database is being built. So if we will click on the word or on the ID for last name, and then look at the bottom under the general category, you'll see that the field size is set at 255. Those are characters. Well, obviously we don't need that many because we only want the last name typed in. So let's limit the characters to 20. And we hit enter, we can go to format. Next, let's choose first name. So click on the first name ID, and let's also limit that to 20 characters. And let's go to the phone field name, and let's limit this to 15 characters. And let's go to job number. And here under field size, we are going to click on the integer button, or actually I think you still have long integer selected. So this means that we can enter very large positive numbers only. If we choose just integer, we'll have normal size positive numbers entered only. These other options allow you to enter decimal points with in the tens place, in the hundreds place. If you want decimals that are unrestricted, you can choose decimal. But in this case, we're going to choose integer. So let's select that. Okay, next let's choose appointment date. Let's click in the format box, use our down arrow to the right, and let's choose short date. And this would be the format that we are going to be entering our data into. Okay, go ahead and hit your save button and say yes if you have an error that says some information may be lost. Don't worry about that, just say yes. Next, let's go to the view button, and now we are back to our data entry screen. Please notice under the confirmed category we now have checkboxes. Let's click on the checkbox for confirmed under Adam Hoover, and if you look in the bottom left hand corner, our memo that we typed, has the interview been confirmed, is there as a question. We hit check, meaning yes. Now let's go in view. Click on your view button so that you're back in the design view, and let's go to the notes field name, and in the bottom of the notes let's go to the default value, and here let's type in Elise, E-L-I-S-E, McDonnell, M-C capital D-O-N-N-E-L-L, will be the interviewer, period. Make sure you put in the period. Next, let's click appointment date at the top. Let's go back down under the general categories here, and let's choose required instead of no. Let's click so that we've selected the box to the right, and let's choose yes. This means that this particular field cannot be left blank. Next, let's hit save, and we changed some of our rules. Let's leave them alone and say yes. Okay, next let's click on the view button so that we are in we're out of the design tab and we're in the view. Okay, next let's close the shutter bar to the right of all access objects so that we have our entire database showing. And then next let's get our cursor in between ID and last name and have the double arrows, and then double click there so that everything resizes to the appropriate size. Okay, next let's add a new record. So go to your records area and choose new, and when you click on new you should have your cursor under last name. Let's type in Peters, James, and the phone number 970-555-6721. Hit tab 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have to hit enter a value for the date, so let's say OK. Let's go back to date and let's type in 09/24/13, or 2013, excuse me. And notice we put it a 0 before the 9, but when we hit enter, it changes it to a 9 without the 0. Now let's hit the space bar. A check mark applies itself to the confirmed. Hit tab, and for the job number 5486, hit tab again, and you'll notice that under the notes, Elise McDonald is automatically filled in. Okay, let's hit tab one more time, and here let's hit save. So now your database should be completely saved. Go ahead and click on the X on the far right to close your database, and you can now complete the projects for lesson 2.